A few weeks ago, I uploaded a video on Randonautica, mainly focusing on the mystery of who is behind the app and what their intentions are. I also mentioned that a group of teens in Seattle had found a body in a suitcase using the app. But I didn't go into too much detail on that as I wanted to wait for some possible developments or maybe a suspect in the case. But now we have a suspect, I thought I'd do a separate video on it. I'm also going to give an update on one of the theories discussed in my Alonzo Brooks video, so stick around to the end to see that. If you generally enjoy mysteries, true crime, disappearances and the occasional conspiracy, please feel free to subscribe and turn on notifications to see more content like this. Randonautica is an app which uses a quantum random number generator to produce a random set of coordinates for you to explore. While the coordinates are being generated, you are told to focus on your intent, which in theory should affect what you find. However, skeptics, myself included, believe that the strange coincidences are just that, coincidences, and that the findings are as a result of confirmation bias. On Friday the 19th of June 2020, a group of teens in Seattle opened up the Randonautica app and focused on their intent as money or travel, reports vary. They were sent to a beach where they found a suitcase washed up on the rocks. I won't be showing the clip of them finding the suitcase in this video, as I've since heard that the family of the victims don't want it sharing anymore, which is completely understandable. I included it in my last video and it's still out there for people to see, but I did want to respect the family's wishes and not share it again. Reports vary on whether the app sent them to the exact location or just very close by to the suitcase, but it is quite a strange coincidence regardless. The teens contacted the police after finding the suitcase, which they suspected contained a body. In another video, they stated that it took police 3 hours to arrive at the scene, and in that time the tide had come up and exposed the contents of the suitcase, which was, as we know, a body. According to spdblotter.seattle.gov, several bags containing human remains were located near the water. When I first read that, I thought it meant that there'd been several victims, but as far as I'm aware there are 2. Maybe this means the pair's remains were split into several different bags. As well as the bag found on the rocks, another bag was found in the water. On 30th of June, the remains were identified as those of 35-year-old Jessica Lewis and her 27-year-old boyfriend Austin Wenner. It was estimated that the pair had been killed 9 to 10 days prior to the discovery of their remains, and the cause of death was gunshot wounds. In NightDoc's video on the case, Jessica and Austin, who had been dating for around 8 years, were described by Jessica's aunt as inseparable and very loyal to each other. She said there seemed to be nothing strange going on prior to their murders, and that none of the family knew why anyone would want to harm them. Jessica was a mother of 4. From the off, rumours were circulating that this was the work of a serial killer. Back in 2015, 2 bodies in suitcases were discovered in the Seattle area within 3 months of each other. Both were women, one being found in May and the other in July. At the time, investigators believed that the 2 cases were not related, and I haven't found any information since to suggest otherwise. They couldn't even determine whether the woman who had been found in May had been murdered or had died of natural causes, as she'd suffered no major injuries. If she died of natural causes, though, I'm not really sure why a body would be found in a suitcase. In January 2018, the body of a man was also found in the Seattle area in a suitcase, though it seemed that this was quite an open and shut case. Unrelated to the other cases, it seemed like the victim had been killed by his cousin. So I'm assuming the rumours of a serial killer were as a result of the other suitcase deaths, which actually turned out to be unrelated. Or it could be a misinterpretation of the reports of multiple bags being found on the beach. Either way, it seems that while whoever murdered Jessica and Austin were the same person, they do not appear to be involved in the other suitcase murders, and therefore are not a serial killer by definition. On the 19th of August 2020, 62-year-old Michael Lee Dudley was arrested at his home on suspicion of the murders of Jessica and Austin. Dudley was the pair's landlord and had previously argued with the pair about payment of their rent. It is thought that this might be a factor in Dudley's motive to murder the couple. DailyDot.com also reported that he may have been angry at them for bringing possible illegal activity into the home. I couldn't find any more information to suggest what that activity might have been. A Reddit comment I found from someone claiming to know the victims claims that the couple asked to move in with OP's boyfriend's uncle shortly before they were murdered because their landlord was really creepy. Apparently they had seen a secret room with a drainage in the house, and at some point the landlord had said that they knew too much. I couldn't find another source for this, so take it with a pinch of salt. Apparently it was also mentioned in the Night Docs video, though I didn't see that before it got deleted, so I can't personally confirm. Bail was set at $5 million, and according to a Reddit post, he is well connected and bail shouldn't be a problem, though I couldn't find a source specifying that. The post claims the articles stated that, but I couldn't find that in any of the links in the post or anywhere else. On the 9th of June, 10 days before the remains were found, neighbours contacted police after hearing gunshots and a man yelling, "Please don't do this, just let me leave." When police arrived at the scene, they did not get a response from the residents, so left. Yep, you heard that right. They were responding to a report of gunshots and a man pleading to leave, and they left because no one answered the door. I don't actually know what the protocol would be in a situation like this, but I can't help but think if they'd have just barged in, that they maybe could have saved the couple's lives. At some point, it's unclear exactly when, whether it was the exact day or later, they obtained a search warrant and found that the walls had been freshly painted in the house. There were also bullet holes and blood in a room in the house where Austin and Jessica had been staying. When Dudley was arrested and questioned by the police, he confirmed that they had argued because the tenants couldn't pay the rent and that he wanted them to move out. He said he could not explain the bullets, bullet holes or blood. His only explanation for the blood was that Jessica must have cut herself at some point. So the evidence is mounting up. The suitcases that the bodies were in were found to belong to Dudley, and as we already know, the couple died from gunshot wounds, so it's looking pretty obvious what happened here. Now, I'm all for innocent until proven guilty and giving people a fair trial, but there's some cases where it's just so obvious what happened, and I think this is one of those. It was also noted that the lengths Dudley went to in order to hide the evidence suggests that he may again commit another violent crime in the future. As it happens, while it seems that this was the first murder that he committed, it wasn't the first sign of his violent tendencies. I don't really want to go into detail on any of this, as they were kind of sensitive topics, and honestly it was kind of hard to even read, but if you do want to know more, I will leave a link in the description to an article that details his previous crimes. All I will say is that he had a history of violence, abusing both people, including his own daughter, and animals. According to Jessica's auntie, Dudley had shown huge red flags when the couple moved in. She claimed that he had even broken their car so they couldn't leave at one point. She stated that he would put trackers on people's cars anytime that he got into a dispute with them, and that he would tell them to leave but lock them in the house to prevent them from doing so. He also has previous convictions for carrying a concealed weapon in a vehicle, theft of a vehicle, and a DUI. So while many of my videos focus on a mystery, this is a seemingly solved true crime story. However, there is one question that prevents it from being quite so open and shut, and that is, who helped Dudley? Investigators believe that he must have had help to hide the bodies. It seems likely that he killed the couple himself, but then received help to dismember them and hide the bodies. But unfortunately, that's a question that we don't have the answer to right now. Dudley's next court date is an arraignment on the 8th of September, where he is expected to enter a plea. I do wonder if he'll be offered some kind of plea deal for implicating anyone else who might have been involved. Either way, I'm sure we'll find out more details in the coming weeks and months. Jessica's aunt has set up a GoFundMe to raise money for a reward for information. As the suspect has been charged, I imagine the reward will be offered for information implicating anyone else, or for any information to secure a conviction. I'll leave a link to that in the description. I also wanted to give a quick update on my video on Alonzo Brooks. If you haven't seen that, check it out before watching this update, or it probably won't make as much sense. This isn't a development in the case, but more an update on the theories mentioned in the video. In the video, I discussed theories circulating that Zoe's friends may have been involved in his death, namely Justin, who appeared on Unsolved Mysteries. According to the Daily Mail, which isn't by any means the most reputable of sources, but they did interview Zoe's mother Maria, as well as other people involved in the case, Netflix left out quite a few details which may have made Justin look less guilty. Maria did tell the Daily Mail that Justin's story had changed about 6 times, and Rodney supported this by stating that the story that Justin had told on Unsolved Mysteries was different to the one he told him and Zoe's older brother the day after his disappearance. Which doesn't look great, but Justin claims not to know why Rodney said that. He doesn't think he's lying necessarily, but maybe misremembering. It does seem that at least parts of Justin's story were backed up by CCTV and phone records, and I've no idea how Netflix didn't mention this in the documentary. Quoting the Daily Mail source, "The truth is, Justin wasn't even alone in the car that night when he left, and his story is backed up by surveillance cameras and phone records. According to the source, Sprague did leave the party to go and get cigarettes, but he did so with another friend. He was 18 years old, drunk and high. They got lost, ploughed their car into a ditch, and abandoned all plans of returning that night. Sprague had just enlisted and feared a DUI might end his army career before it even began. DailyMail.com has been told that phone records support Sprague's claim that he called Adam, and while internet rumours questioning the existence of his friend abound, he was one of the friends who hung out at Brooks' house earlier that day. The source claimed that 3 surveillance cameras at gas stations confirmed Sprague's account of his journey, as well as the fact he withdrew $200 from an ATM when he and the friend with him decided to go to a strip club from which they were ejected. Again, I just don't know why Netflix left that out. It definitely makes Justin look a lot less suspicious and does confirm that Adam actually existed. That being said, it still doesn't look great that Justin left so that night, though he seems to fully acknowledge that he shouldn't have done that. He completely understands how the family feel towards him and carries a lot of guilt from that night. Another discrepancy highlighted in the Daily Mail article is the location of Zoe's items, which were found across the road from the house. According to a source familiar with the scene, Zoe's shoes were actually found right next to each other, neatly lined up, as opposed to looking like they'd been thrown out of a moving vehicle as suggested by Rodney in Unsolved Mysteries. Netflix released a Google Drive containing unseen clips and evidence for each episode of the show, though there wasn't really anything fresh or noteworthy on the Alonzo Brooks case. I'm still following this case, but it could be a little while until there are any significant developments, but I'll keep you all updated as and when I hear anything. If you have any information on the case, tips can still be submitted via unsolved.com or by contacting the relevant authorities, for which I'll leave information in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday in a new video.